I think all of these questions you start to have to ask yourself, what it is that you really value and what do you really want to do with yourself? What do you really care about? And when you know what you really care about, you also know who you care about helping. And when you start to know who you care about helping, you start to ask yourself, how can what I know help answer the question that's keeping them up all night?
They're not missing the thing that they're paying for. And I've got CEOs in the room that are taking notes and asking questions and are part of the discussion. So the buy-in by the end of that workshop is like 100%. Like, we know we're going to get this blueprint from Ryan. We don't have to hire them. We can use this blueprint and give it to another video company, have them do this. But the trust, the rapport, all of the stuff that's built through that workshop, and then the blueprint that's built, like, I'm the expert at that point. So they're not going to go to another video provider, even though they have that freedom and that option to be able to do that.
There has to be balance. Here's the two extremes, right? I know people who are complaining about the life they have and the results they're getting in their business, and yet they've seen every episode of Yellowstone. On the flip side, I know people that haven't watched any of the things that they've loved and yet are miserable working too hard at a business that they hate. Somewhere in the middle is joy and happiness.
On episode 420 of the podcast, we talk about why hustle culture isn't sustainable and how to define success on your own terms. We also talk about the importance of intentionally building rest into your business model, and then how to create real value instead of just chasing revenue. Episode 420, here we go. Yo, hey, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Okay, I'm a little bit late, but seriously, 2025, let this be our year. I mean, are you with me? I can't hear you. I know, I'm a cheeseball, but it's fine. It's okay. Okay, so we're a little bit into 2025, and I don't want this year to get away from you, because if you're like me and most people, it's like we got through the holidays. Now we're like trying to catch up on emails, and all of the things and all of the dreams and the goals and the aspirations that we have for this year can easily get forgotten about because they're not in front of us. We're not seeing them every day. We're not making time to work on our business. Now we're just doing the things inside of our business. If that's you, stop. Take a breath, take another breath. I know the year is just starting, but my hope for you in your video business is that you carve out time intentionally week after week, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes a week, to work on your business, to work on things today so that you don't have to work on them next week or next month or next year. And those little pockets of time that you carve out will compound over time. And you'll get to the end of this year, and if you spend 5 minutes once a week working on your business times 50 weeks, that's 250 minutes. That's not a ton of minutes. So hopefully you can spend more minutes than that over the course of the year. But if you focused on one thing for each of those 5-minute blips on a weekly basis, things will change in your business. Okay, there should be tasks that you don't do next year because you set out this year, at the beginning of this year, you're like, I don't ever want to do my bookkeeping again, or I don't ever want to have to be the first person to check my email again, or I don't want to have to book an appointment for myself. I want somebody else to be able to do that, or I want to find a technology that can do that for me, or that can do 80% of that booking. There are things that you can do, but you have to find time to ask yourself at the end of a week or the start of a week, like, where am I stuck? Where am I frustrated? What's something that I could do in my business that would help me save time in the future? It's gonna take time to build it, to learn it, to apply it. But if you stick to it over time, you're gonna get that time back, okay? Speaking of that, one of my favorite books from last year, I think it was from last year or the year before, the end of the year before. Buy Back Your Time, Dan Martell, really good read. If you're looking for something at the beginning of this year, read that one. Okay, I'm Ryan Coral. I run a video production business. This isn't what I do full time. I spend 1 day a week building content, creating content, engaging, running a mastermind, building courses, educating filmmakers and video production business people on this work because I've been doing it for a long time and I love sharing, and I feel like I grow when I share, and building the kind of community that I have. It's been so fun and warming for my heart. It's been so good for me. So I'm thankful that you're here. I'm thankful that we're together on this episode. And if you're new, I hope you stick around for a long time. The things that you're gonna learn in this episode will be really, really helpful. I also want you to know that I have a workshop that I've designed just for you. So there are things that I'm gonna share with you that I've learned over my 20 years of running a business. And the latest things, including AI things and how I'm leveraging AI, how I'm leveraging it to get back more of my time. I want you to get access to this free workshop, okay? And you can access it by going to studiosherpas.com/10x-filmmaker. It's the number 10x filmmaker. X, I was gonna say X is not a number, but it is a number. Roman numeral number. I'm so smart, you guys. I went to college. Yeah, okay, I digress. Anyway, check that workshop out, and I think you'll enjoy it. I think you will walk away with a plan and some steps on things that you can do inside your business. Okay, let's take a breath. Ready for this masterclass, okay? Here we go. Let's jump in.
What's up, my friend? Hey, welcome to another episode. Today, I get the pleasure, so do you, because you're listening, of hanging out with my friend Terry Weaver, who is the author of Making Elephants Fly. He's the founder of The Thing, and he is a keynote speaker. And Terry, it wasn't even that long ago that we were hanging out in person, hanging out in one of my favorite places in the entire world, which is Disney. Dude, I'm so glad that you're here on the show. Welcome.
Yeah, dude. And it was a lot warmer there than it is here right now.
Oh,
it's
man.
always warmer than everywhere else that it is in Michigan, so I'm sure.
Yeah, school was canceled today because of the ice and the things. So
You know the weather's bad in Michigan when they're canceling school, because Michigan's normally like when I was your age, we walked to school.
Terry, give my audience a snapshot. The way that you make money, what's the heartbeat behind what you do and why you do it?
And those are very, very different questions.
Mhm.
Because the way that I make money are from a couple of streams of revenue. One is from consulting, the consulting, speaking, corporate training. Either a company or organization will bring me in to speak or teach, or for a long-term engagement to fix something in their business, or to elevate something in their business. It's not always about making things. I think sometimes we feel like we always have to be a solution to a problem. And sometimes our solution is that we just make things better. Steve Jobs was known for that. Steve Jobs is a leader that approached everything. People think of Apple as the company for creatives, but really they're the company they just fix things that other people had already made and made them better. The iPod was a better Walkman. The iPhone was a better iPod. They even improved upon what they did for themselves. And so that's one stream. Another stream is through coaching and mastermind groups, which I would say is one of my primary streams. And then I do live events and experiences that either will look more like a conference, or like we've done a thing called the Mastermind in Jamaica. Last year we did Mastermind in the Smokies, a different location based, which is interesting that those come up in two different groups, because a lot of people think of a mastermind as an event. But I think a mastermind is something you do in a long-term engagement. Really when we're together, it's masterminding. It's a group of people for a season. There's typically a punctuation, meaning we typically get in a van or a plane or and go home. And so, those are the different ways. And obviously we're always looking. I always tell people that you don't have to make money at everything, but something's got to make money. Because there's some things you're going to do that are going to be they're going to be lead magnets. Live events are something we do that aren't necessarily, they provide cash flow.
Yeah.
Which is helpful, but they don't necessarily provide profit.
At least the events I run.
Yeah, dude, live events are really difficult.
Yeah.
And I think the people that come to events, as attendees, you get a lot of video vendor. A lot of people think they bring way more to the table than they bring. When you're any kind of a vendor, whether it's a speaker or a video production guy or an audio guy or whatever else, I only care about one thing. I mean, at the end of the day, every business only cares about, did you help me achieve my goal? And in business, My goal to stay in business is to make profit.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you didn't help me be profitable, or the next event to be profitable, you were useless to me.
Yeah.
I don't know, that's aggressive. You and I talked a lot about this as speakers, people that come and speak at events. It's like, I have a lot of people that come and go, man, we over the years, there's been a handful, and I mean, by a handful, I mean on one hand, of speakers that we've given some form of revenue to for speaking. And I'll be honest, none of them have we netted a return on that investment. Most of the time, people forget what they bring, how much the value that they bring to people matters. I've noticed a lot of conversations on the internet the past few weeks around, people thinking about it. How do I show up somewhere and get paid? And I would challenge you to ask, how do you show up somewhere and who are you serving when you show up? Because if you're everywhere you're going to take, you're not going to get asked back many places.
Yeah.
It's like Johnny Depp gets away with being a pirate. You're not going to get away with it. Right?
Yeah, I think for me, my biggest mind shift happened actually, ironically enough, when I met you. I had just finished reading the book, The Go-Giver. So this is in I think it's 2018 or 2019. And I had Mike Kim on my podcast shortly after this. He invited me to the event. That's where I met you. That's where we first connected. Then we caught up again this summer. And then, I got to be a part of your event, which was amazing. And the quality of people that you draw was it's just top notch. Some of the coolest people I've ever met. And it was such an awesome, awesome event. And it was intimate and it was so good. But this idea of being a pirate or the opposite of that. The Go-Giver, such a good book, such a powerful read for me, because Mike's event was the first event that I said, you know what, instead of me going to this event to try to collect business cards and hand out as many as I could, I'm going to go with like open hands, and I'm going to say this little prayer of like, God, help me just be helpful this week. What conversation can I have? How can I show up and be helpful this week? And that was the first event that I ever did that. And it was the most powerful event. I was like, okay, I need to be a part of more events like this. But for me, it was like a mindset shift. And I've tried to take that same approach into all areas or most areas of my life, because it just feels better. I resonate so much more with like, can I bring some value here? Can I be helpful? And the way that works out, the way that should shake out at the end is like, I will receive, right? When you give, like that's when you receive. There's like an old adage that goes back a long time ago that seems to keep on working. So I definitely resonate with how you're sharing that. I've seen it in my own life.
You can always tell. There's always somebody at a conference that's in a corner has a table full of people just kind of sitting at their feet. And it's not because they're there selling them anything. I mean, dude, believe me, I've had guys that literally would sit people and open up their laptop to a, PowerPoint sales presentation. It's like, wow, bro, that's aggressive. But the people that gave and were super generous, and the people that they weren't necessarily worried about, was this a transaction? And I think that's a significant shift happening in our world right now in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Is people that are transactional are gonna. We're approaching like AI is giving a lot of things that it is increasing the importance of human connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, I think it actually might be the biggest justifier of live events ever is AI. Because you can't deep fake human connection.
Yeah. That's good.
And so I think we're going to see a rise. I mean, even video is easy to, I mean, for all the people though, you and I are just two AI robots talking to each other.
Yes.
Which
I reject that.
But I mean, it's possible. I couldn't
It is
imagine
possible.
anybody listening to that and finding that entertaining. Um, I can't imagine AI's jokes being funnier than mine.
Yeah.
So maybe that much. But all of that said is like that our humanity and our desire to just be there and to serve and to encourage people is just so much more important now.
Yeah. Take the service-based business owner. I run a video production company. What, like, how do I juggle this, the AI stuff with, because I mean, really, like, it's impacting the way that we go about our work and our service. But then also this need, I think, for all of us to build meaningful connections, because the meaningful connections lead to, I look at 20 years of being in business, and the meaningful connections, relationships, those are the clients that I've had for over a decade. So in some cases, since I started 20 years ago. It's hard to build that kind of trust just through written content, or even showing up on a video on somebody's website. Your point about in-person events, I felt that again at your event. That was kind of one of my talking points, was like the way that you build trust in person. It's just a bazillion times faster than if you see a sweet video I post online, or you see a handful of posts from me. It's like, yeah, that trust builds, and that's the strategy that you've got to take online. But man, consider in-person stuff, because the way that can build your business, it can be so much faster. So what encouragement, or what I don't know, what thoughts do you have for the service-based business provider that is potentially facing some challenges that we haven't ever faced before, with AI and the way that we're just approaching how we do business?
Well, historically, people either get paid for what they know or for what they do. And I think significantly, AI is coming for what you do more than for what you know. AI is coming for your tasks, even though AI is technically a knowledge base. A lot of what business is, man, is, are you a cook or are you a baker? Because most of baking is about precision. It's about putting 1.5 cups of flour in something. I'm horrible at that. Right? But I'm a pretty good chef. I'm a pretty good, like, I could come up with things on the fly. If it's following instructions and I have it and I was just to follow a path, I'm probably not going to get there. But if I take the principles of that and use creativity, I bring a lot. I bring something that nothing else can bring. And so if I was in the video business, which, we've tried that, we've tried to be offer a lot of the slice and dice services in the past, from a service-based agency solution. And every time I start something that's agency-based, whether it's with US-based folks or international-based folks, I quickly learned that that's not something I want to do, because managing people is tough.
Amen.
And, I mean, one of the big arbitrages in video, man, is just even the size of it all. And it's not getting smaller. No one has created a great solution to move it around.
Yeah.
Just getting all of the video off of all of the SD cards from a live event. I mean, we had
Oh gosh.
a 3-camera shoot. They were just static. You were there. Nothing fancy.
Yep.
But even just getting those on a hard drive is, it's a couple of overnights of time.
Yeah.
Not to mention getting that to someone else.
Right.
There's so much time that's involved in that. But I think what this service-based video person ought to really ask themselves right now is, do I really want to be known as the video guy, or do I want to be known as the video strategy expert? Because, I have a buddy here. He had an incredibly successful wedding business. He was doing between 10 $18,000 a wedding.
Oh.
Killing it. Hating life. And most of it, he wasn't even going to the weddings anymore.
Mhm.
He was just sending out guys, and then he would have someone do a rough edit, and then he would do the final edit because he knew he was a cinematic storyteller.
Yeah.
But it was soul crushing work, man. Even though he had limited himself down to the things that only he can do. The problem with anytime you start talking about service based, you're pretty quickly in the time for dollars range. You're exchanging your time for someone else's dollars. And there's nothing wrong. We should be making money from our time.
Yeah.
But we want to be doing more and more things that we make multiples of money for our time. Not necessarily, you said if I had you edit something from the thing, you'd be able to do that, and you'd do that once, and that would kind of be the end. And so, how do you go from there? How do you go from, that experience to actually building a business that actually allows you to thrive? And I'm not, and it really just depends on what do you know?
Yeah.
And if you're doing video, you probably know something about storytelling. You probably have a framework that you're using. There's a lot of stuff that you are trying to have your clients pay you to do that you shouldn't.
Yeah. Like what?
I mean, didn't even think about what we're doing right now. Man, I don't want to ruin. I'm going to ruin someone's business here in a minute. But
Oops.
I know there are a lot of people that are paying people good money for what Riverside does for $29.99 a month. I know people selling that service for thousands of dollars. But, man, you coming in as a producer and helping them create content that's powerful, teaching them how to speak in sound bites, teaching them how to, look at the camera and act around the camera, and, learning to be the one that's making people great, not necessarily just help people drudge through content. Man, that's a valuable service.
Yeah.
Riverside's full of great tools that's what you and I are on it right now. And it's full of, it's going to do things for you with this episode that would have taken you a day or a day's worth of work.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it's not going to be perfect. It's going to pull clips out of here that are absolutely useless.
Yep.
But if we slide the needle a little bit and do a little work, it can be amazing. And I think a lot of people could be asking, what could I be doing that I can be helping people do the 2% of work, the 10% of work that gets them the 90% of results? And most of the time we waste so much time doing the 90% of the work that gets none of the results.
I remember for me, like early on, assuming that part of my job in converting a prospect into a client was to paint a lot of options, come up with ideas. Oh, I kind of thought like I was like an old school ad agency where like on the fly, you kind of had to come up with ideas. And for so long, I didn't have any formal training on that. It's just like, oh, I'm an idea person. I can come up with some stuff. And so many of the times people would be like, okay. Or, wow, that's great. And then we wouldn't get hired. And I'm like, man, what the heck? But as soon as I stopped doing that, stopped offering and just asked more questions and listened better. And then when it made sense to say, hey, I offer this like consulting option where I can help you guys like really nail the idea, and we'll do it collectively together with the stakeholders from your team. And I sell that as a service. We're gonna build a blueprint based off of this workshop. And it is amazing because it's the same thing that I used to offer for free, do for free, just as part of a way to win a job. Now I do it as like, this is a product that we offer or a service that we offer, and people buy it. And now I've got like CEOs that are in these meetings. They're not missing the phone call or the discovery workshop or anything like that. They're not missing the thing that they're paying for. And I've got CEOs in the room that are taking notes and asking questions and are part of the discussion. So the buy-in by the end of that workshop is like 100%. Like, we know we're going to get this blueprint from Ryan. We don't have to hire them. We can use this blueprint and give it to another video company, have them do this. But the trust, the rapport, all of the stuff that's built through that workshop, and then the blueprint that's built, like, I'm the expert at that point. So they're not going to go to another video provider, even though they have that freedom and that option to be able to do that.
Yeah, and a lot of times that brilliance is being given away in your sales process. I mean, that's a standard problem that I have a lot of coaching clients that I've worked them through that process. I'm like, man, what you're doing is sell people things and you're not closing them. Because reality is, I mean, this is a real problem for people right now in sales and leads, is we don't always know what the pain our problem is solving. You know, you told this joke at the beginning of the thing. I don't even know that you were there yet at this point. Or, I mean, I don't know if you were in the room for it, but, you know, there's that constant dialogue between who has better French fries and fast food. And it came down to like McDonald's and In-N-Out Burger. You know, and if you look at the ingredients of In-N-Out Burgers, French fries, it's just potatoes. That's it. You'd go to In-N-Out Burger. I was just in Dallas this last week. They shoved a potato on a counter, pulled a lever down at the bottom of that thing, came out a French fry. You know, and McDonald's, you know, the potatoes come in on a freezer truck, and the ingredient list, potatoes not real high on that list. There's a bunch of other stuff in there. I'm not here to question whether they're fantastic or not, because there's sometimes nothing hits like a McDonald's potato-like product. But reality is, if someone's like, I don't like In-N-Out Burger French fries, I was like, no, dude, you don't like potatoes, bro. And people don't always know what people don't like and what the pain they're actually having. You know, it's funny, at that conference, I used a quote from Brian Dixon. It says, you know, what's easy for you is magic for others. Yeah. You know, and Brian said that at his talk at Mike's Impact and Influence conference in 2018 in Austin. And that was really just Mike's excuse to get us all in a room. He was like, I want to get my friends together. Because I think he realized the event was going to lose Buddy at that point. Because the hotel had kind of messed him over and he wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's actually one of the things I've learned to try to help people through that process of like, man, how do you think about live events? And how do you make sure they don't kill you? And I'll be honest, this last one physically was intense. It was hard. But, you know, I think all of these questions you start to have to ask yourself, you know, what it is that you really value and what do you really want to do with yourself? Like, what is your time really, what do you really care about? You know, and when you know what you really care about, you also know who you care about helping. And when you start to know who you care about helping, you start to ask yourself, how can what I know help answer the question that's keeping them up all night? Because that's what people are looking for, you know. That's the problem people are looking to solve right now for your business. People are looking for a video company because something about video is keeping them up.
And it's not that they need a video, right? We can easily think like, oh, that's what we do. We do video. So if you need video, we're the people. But the problem is, like, the thing that's keeping them up is something else, and video can be a solution, right? Or the thing that helps them achieve or accomplish that thing.
Which, you know, if businesses would do a better job of creating referral networks with their other businesses that were like-minded, I think life would be a lot more successful for people.
Yeah.
Because when you're starting to get people that send you, it hits a lot different when I'm like, hey, man, here's what you need to do. You need to get on the phone with Ryan and he's going to help you process this. It's not going to be cheap, but it'll be worth it. So when they get on the phone with you, they're already I've already sold them.
Thank you. Thanks for
but that's what you need in your business.
Yeah.
If that's not happening, you need to go out and invest deeply. your time deeply into building
Yeah.
those kind of relationships.
Just as a perfect example, I was in a mastermind with a guy, Vince, and this week we're not in the same mastermind anymore. It's been months since we've been together. This week I was on 2 calls with 2 new clients of mine that were both referred to me by Vince. They came to me. It was the easiest pitch, the easiest sell ever. And literally, I'm telling one of the guys yesterday, we're emailing back and forth. So I'm trying to help him invest a little bit in some video gear to up level his setup. And he was really pushed back on the first. He's like, I kind of want to do like create some more content first and see how it goes. And I'm like, yep, that's fine. Like totally get it. But just, here's what a before and after could look like. And then he's like, yeah, no, totally get it. Like, I'm going to wait. And then he actually had a call with Vince yesterday afternoon. And he messaged me this morning. He's like, well, when I got off the phone with Vince, he said, just trust Ryan, trust the process, buy the stuff and stop overthinking it. So he's like, I just ordered the things that you told me to order. And talk about trust, right? It's like exactly what you just said. There's the people in our lives that we trust. And if they can be informed with how you can help, it just makes everything so much easier.
Yeah. Because here's the deal, dude. When a lot of times people hire me, that don't necessarily come through that situation. People like to argue. Can you imagine like calling someone for advice and not taking it? It's stupid. It's ludicrous. But people do it all the time. It's ridiculous. But it's our human nature. And I know we're all trying to be frugal. We're all trying to be it's funny. I've been trying to get a couple of the folks around me to get the DJI Osmo Mini. And I'm like, just get the dang thing, man. They're like, I thought it was $100. I was like, no, it's not $100. And even my guy that used it at the thing, he's like, man, that thing was a pain. I was like, well, yeah, because you probably didn't take the 5 minutes to really learn how to use it because it's not that complicated.
Right.
And we were trying to use it at the thing for a little something odd, and it kind of worked. It didn't work perfectly. But that's because the person that I had tasked with making it perfect didn't do their part. And that's okay. Creative people are weird, man. They get so caught up on like opportunity and getting paid that they're afraid to just go in and wow somebody when they're already in the room.
Yeah.
If you're a video guy and there's video equipment up in a room, don't be afraid to go ask people how you can help and serve.
Wait, are you telling me I should have asked that?
No. Dude,
now I'm like, shoot.
But you're also not like a 19-year-old kid trying to break into this industry.
Yeah.
Right?
I am not that anymore.
But there were a couple of those in the room that were that.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm learning, man, even at the phase that I am in my life of doing this, that there are parts of this that I have to go to the beginning on. Because things are changing, things are evolving.
Yeah.
I mean, short form video used to mean 30 seconds. I don't know. Has YouTube gotten past 60 seconds yet? YouTube Shorts?
I think it's still on 60.
Okay.
I'm not certain though.
I'm just ready for them all to get at 90 seconds.
Yeah, I know. It's like, guys, okay. Some people are doing 90. Like, let's
just make it 90 because it's
just make the switch.
Making a succinct 1 minute that's an original thought. It's a tough skill, and I'm pretty good at it.
It's tough,
but 90 seconds is much easier for me.
Yeah,
I can typically do 45. That's interesting that I think maybe it's because I think we think in 45-second little modules.
No, well,
but I either go like 45 or 90. And so, especially if there's a CTA in it.
Yeah.
Because a CTA alone takes 20 or 30 seconds sometimes.
I want to talk about we mentioned this briefly before we hit record, the Alex Hormozy post. I don't know if that's I'm assuming it's a somewhat recent post. And anybody that's followed this show for a while, I mean, I've got, I think, all of his books, and there's so much about what he does that I really enjoy. But this post, and you brought it up, I saw this post the other day as well, and I'm just like, ew. Not ew. It was more just like, man, I just felt really sorry for for a part of his life, and then also for anybody that like totally buys into like this philosophy. Do you want to share?
Let me actually go back and
parts
try to
from
find
that post?
What's funny is it probably would be easier to find somebody talking about the post than him posting it.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that funny? But dude, I mean, everybody and
Totally.
their mom has been posting this post, and it's basically about him saying, here it is.
This guy says, the joke is on Alex Hormozy. He doesn't know the feeling of being up 48 points going into the Monday Night Football game only for it's just have fun with that $250 million.
It's funny. And he posted in 2014, his second gym was doing $600K in revenue. In 2024, his PE firm had $250 million portfolio. The secret: no distractions for 10 years. No meaningless purchases for 10 years. No clubbing for 10 years. No fantasy football for 10 years. No friends' weddings for 10 years. You better start now because it takes way longer than you think. Just win. My friend, I don't know, do you know Barbara Carino?
I do not.
The Barbara just posted us. I fixed it for you, Alex. No joy for 10 years. No life for 10 years. No wonder for 10 years. No wandering for 10 years. No soul for 10 years. Here's what all of this comes down to for me, man. Success is such a word, right? It's such a word we all want to achieve. We all want to move into. And I think what really makes someone successful is the ability to define the life that they want. And if this is truly the life that Alex wants, man, good on you, brother.
Yeah,
Go after it. Take your nose strips and your gym shorts and go live that life, boss. That just seems empty to me, man. I want to have a life of, what's funny is since the Thing conference, we let the Thing ended on Sunday night. We spend Monday kind of planning the Thing 2025 with the hotel. I know, never stops.
Jeez.
And then Leslie and I were in Orlando for a few days, trying to have a little bit of fun, but honestly, we're just, I was I had run hard, and he was just like, should we just go back to the room so you can sleep? And I'm like, no, we're in Orlando. Let's go have fun. And I'm dragging, man. And it's tough for her to see. This was only after a few weeks of this hustle culture, right? So we came home. We're home for a few days. Went to see family in Texas, which, driving around to small middle of nowhere Texas, kind of exhausting. Got home, picked someone up at the airport to have some of our community was in town for Thanksgiving. And then like after Thanksgiving dinner, dude, my body just said, hey, boss, grab a blanket and go sit on the couch. My mom was like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm not okay. I'm tired. Leave. I just want to go. I'm not like melting down. Don't take me to the ER. I just need to sit. I just need to be. And because I'm the person that for most of my life, when everyone else is like, man, we should stop. And I'm like, no, we'll just push through. When you do a live event, there is no like, well, we can do it the next day. Like everyone's here today. The conference room is ours today. We're doing this today. But the rest has to come. And I think I want to build a life that allows me more rest. I don't know that I want to build a life that allows me to get the chance to go to more weddings, but I'd love the freedom to go to more weddings. I'm looking at next year already, dude, and I'm saying, man, I'm going to intensely just take off when the Thing is done. From the 15th of November when the Thing ends next year, I'm not going to start back up again until January.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I know there are some things that'll have to be done, but I'm going to be intentionally trying to build systems for the next 8-9 months that allow me the freedom to not be needed. Now, I will probably still do my mastermind calls because I think they're important. But they don't have to be done from here.
And that probably doesn't feel like work.
Huh? No, that doesn't feel like work. Honestly, man, most of the work, that's actually what's really dangerous about what I do.
Yeah.
Is I've built most of my life to do work that I love.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's still not work. That doesn't mean that the late nights, the never turning off. I've always said hustle's a season. Even through several of the,
Yeah.
a lot of people thought Gary Vaynerchuk was trying to convince us to be all, it was even called hustle porn for a while. It
Yeah.
was just like, we should work harder, we should work,
Yeah.
you know.
Work.
There has to be balance.
Yeah.
There has to be a balance. And I know people that are complaining about the life they have. Here's the two extremes, right? I know people who are complaining about the life they have and the results they're getting in their business, and yet they've seen every episode of Yellowstone. On the flip side, I know people that haven't watched any of the things that they've loved, and yet are miserable working too hard at a business that they hate. Somewhere in the middle is joy and happiness. And I'm trying to I try to find that middle. I'm a little behind on Star Wars and Marvel stuff that I want to watch on Disney Plus. But I'm honestly thinking about what am I going to watch this week? How can I'm trying to literally power down as much as I can this week and this month, just to kind of because I know there's a lot coming.
Mm-hmm.
I announced some things in Orlando that are big swings for 2025. And there's a lot of logistics and a lot of pieces to be done. And because of that, I know that there's a lot of work to be done. And I don't want anyone to ever think that. I think this is where it gets out of hand, Ryan, is where we start to go, oh, if I want to achieve Alex Hormozi's success, I've got to go and do Alex Hormozi work.
Right.
And that might be true, but there's so many of these softwares and Kajabi heroes and ClickFunnels, 2 awards, who are people who have made millions and millions of dollars, but they haven't made any money. They've moved money. I want to see who's doing the 2 profit. I want to see who's one that's the 4 profit club. Who's actually making profit and making money, not just moving money around in a sales funnel. I think we're potentially at a season, man, of it's going to be a good season for capitalism for the next few years, for a lot of states. And so if there's that opportunity, man, what are we going to do with it? And what are we going to build that allows us the freedom to have revenue so that
yeah,
it allows us the freedom we want? When you're giving your talk at the thing, man, and you've got your family up on that, and you're having a hard time keeping it together just about how you talk about, they're your everything. That why is a much stronger motivator than Alex Hormozi's gym for me.
Yeah.
And I never want to judge anyone else's life, but when they start to impose it on me and teach people almost in an unhealthy way that this is what success is.
Yeah.
This is and I don't think this is the way. I'm more interested in listening to guys that are and our boy and Nick Singal, who spoke at the thing, a bunch of his core people are on the Board of Experts cruise this week. And there's a lot of big studs on that, making millions and millions of dollars. I'm a lot more interested about what they're doing. And when you talk about building community, I always want to put people around different voices that challenge their thinking. But I'm not sure there's a place anymore in culture for this unhealthy hustle. So you can't function anymore.
I think that the idea of a season for hustle, I love that. It reminds me of when I first started my business, and my wife, it was probably 2 years of the first 2 years of building. And we ended up seeing a marriage therapist, because she's like, you're always working. And when are you not going to be? And in my mind, I'm like, this is a season. I know what I want. I know what I'm after. I didn't start this business to do it by myself. Eventually I'm going to have a team, but right now I'm still in building mode. And so, we got through that, and that was literally my goal, was to start handing off, delegating. And I remember maybe it was 2 years after that when I had my first team that was out filming a wedding. It was the first time I wasn't at a wedding filming. My wife and I were on a date, and I just like looked at my phone and I looked at the date. I'm like, yeah, this is the so-and-so wedding, and these guys are out there doing it. And here we are, like, on a date. I'm like, this is what I'm trying to build. And so the person who's like, at the start of their business, or is at a challenging time in their business, this might be the season of hustle. And figuring out how to balance that with family, with a spouse, with little kids, and trying to just embrace the littleness of them, because I have a senior in high school. He's graduating next year. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, where did time go? And I'm so glad that, 18 years ago, 17 years ago, I said, I'm going to work at home. I'm going to like be there for the first steps, the first words, like all of the things as much as I can. And then eventually my wife, after our second kid, Andrew's like, can you find a studio or something so I can like, live in the house and not you have clients come by, and, a shared workspace in that regard. And I did that. And, and that was really good for that season. But I guess I'm just saying this to encourage the person who's just feeling like, I don't even know where to, I don't know the way out of the hustle, because I've just like, I'm grinding, I'm trying to make this thing work. And it just seems like an endless cycle. So I just, maybe last question for you, Terry, like what do you say to that person that maybe is trapped? There's the person who's wired to work like Alex Hormozy, or to work like, what's his name? Yeah, Gary Vee.
Even Gary Vee doesn't work. That's like you think Gary Vee works. His life is edited. You think you're following there 24/7, but you're only seeing the highlights. There's no like, this. There's not good video content as Gary Vee. Isn't Gary Vee sitting on a couch drinking a latte? Like, could you imagine that? I wish he would just do 24 hours of like Gary Vee does nothing.
Yeah.
Like an art project.
So just to that, like there are those people, and there's not tons of them out there, but there are some that are just wired like those guys. And then people like me see them and like, oh, that's what if I want the kind of success, I got to get up at 6 and start working at 6 and then be done at 10 p.m. and not have a life and do all the things. But it's just for a season. It's like, okay, that's not for everybody. So for the person that is having a hard time finding what is the balance, what do I do? How do I, is there an end to the, me just being hired for the how and not the no? What's your encouragement or advice for the person that's in that spot?
Well, I think the first thing you need to do is decide where you want to go. What's the big, what's the mission? What's the goal? And then 2, set some really clear boundaries along the way. Set some really clear, like, we will not do this. I mean, if I'm talking about taking a month off at the end of next year, there's some Saturdays that I'm going to work.
Right.
I try to align my hustle with my wife's work schedule and her hustle. And so if I know that she's working, I'm trying to not be relaxing. I'm trying to take which is a little difficult because she's a morning person and I'm a night owl. Right. And so, it can be careful where you become like, ships passing in the sea. But, obviously if you're launching a product or an event, there's going to be a season of like hustle. Like the thing is going on tour in 2025, a bunch of one-day events, which is, equal part a brilliant idea and equal parts like, why am I doing this to myself? But even in how I'm designing it, we're designing them to happen 2 at a time. So it doesn't feel like 10 events. It all of a sudden becomes 5 events because they're events that we've shrunk into a week. We'll do one at the beginning of the week and one at the end of the week. That's kind of our current plan as I'm mapping them out. We'll have a similar team, give or take 1 or 2 people for each of those. So we'll know we're kind of batching our effort. And I'm also going to be really intentional about putting rest around that. My wife and I both have a birthday ending in 0 this year. So we're also trying to plan that stuff. Let's do some like So you're about celebrating.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we're trying to make those plans, and we're being really intentional about rest. And I think that was the one thing that made me the saddest for Alex is like, man, when I've been the most effective, I've followed my rule of taking around a week off every quarter.
Yeah.
And at least twice a year, you and your spouse going somewhere for a significant number of days. Because I know that as an entrepreneur, it takes almost 10 days before you really disengage. Because a weekend, man, you're not turning it off on a weekend.
Yeah.
But going somewhere twice a year, just you and your spouse. Now, not in addition to the 4 times, but being very intentional about you and your spouse getting away. And at least one of those trips not necessarily being like all right, on Tuesday, we're going to go to the mountains, and on Thursday, we're going to go see the waterfalls. My wife and I try to plan like beach trips where it's just like, what are you doing on the trip? Nothing. I love a good all-inclusive resort where it's like there's an ocean and there's a chair.
I'm with you.
And I need more of that because it takes me days just for my mind to stop creating. People always talk a lot, man, I wish I was more creative. And I was like, do you though? Like,
it doesn't.
No, it doesn't, man. It's like I was listening to an interview this last week when Erwin McMahon is talking about the night terrors he has. And how, he's writing, when he was writing this newest book of how he was literally on the ground in tears, like weeping, getting this stuff out of him. It's like, man, and I think leadership and chasing these things, it's intense enough already. The work is hard enough already. So let's not create a false sense of, let's not make it more difficult than it already is. Because it's already really difficult. It's already really difficult to achieve and to pick yourself and to take a path that other people have said. And so, I don't know, man. That's what I'm thinking. And I hope I didn't take your show too far down this hustle path today.
No, I think it's important. I'm curious to hear feedback on it. It's always very interesting for me to hear how people, and here's the thing, at the end of the day, we can have opinions, but it's like I'm wired the way that I am, so I'm drawn to a certain way. Sure. And same with you. And Alex would look at my business and he'd be like, really, dude? Like this is what you're, he's like, I built the life that I want. I'm like, oh shoot. Okay. Well, if that's the case, then, I guess, yeah, I'm building the life that I want. I think but it looks a lot different than what you've built over there. So that's just, it's what is Richard Rohr? Everything Belongs. I think that's the title of one of his books. And, in a way, it's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. So getting clear, like you said, getting clear on what it is that you want, I think is such an amazing place to start. I don't know when this episode rolls out, but I think it will be early 2025. And this is like the best time to kind of start from scratch and say, okay, what do I want? What do I want for my life this year? What do I want life to look like? I get to the end of this year. What did I achieve, or what did I do? What did I accomplish? What did I feel? Who did I meet? Like, what are those things? And defining those, and then building a plan for, okay, and how do I get there? I love that. Love how you set that up for us.
Yeah, and I have a free course called discoveryourthing.com. It's 100% free. And one of the questions that I ask in every coaching session, I call it the Spice Girls rule. It's tell me what you want, what you really, really want. Anik, that's funny I bring up Anik. And dude, this is a guy that's done it, right? He's climbed the mountain. He's made the multi-million dollar business. He's been sued for more than most people have made.
Yeah, that's true.
And we were talking about the Spice Girl question. He's like, man, I don't even know the answer to that question for me in this season right now. He's like, but I do know what I don't want. And
which is one step closer to.
Yeah, I'd encourage you. The course is free. There's literally no strings attached. It's just.
Yeah. What is the URL again?
Yourthing.com. It's if you're trying to discover what your thing is, what it is you really want. And you may be listening to the show because you have a video business, but there may be something more you want. That may be a piece of what you're offering. And video is still the most powerful force to get a message across. It's short of being in someone's office.
Right.
It's not going away. It's not
going away.
The screen gets smaller, and yet closer.
Yeah. Where can people find you online if they want to follow?
It's terryweaver.com. It's the best bet. On about half the socials, I'm Terry Weaver, and half the socials, I'm Terry.Weaver. The ones I got there early enough.
That's great. Yeah. This is great. Terry, thanks so much, man. I appreciate the conversation. It's good to reconnect. Thanks for all the work that you did in putting on the thing, Orlando. So good. I'm connected to so many new people. I was actually supposed to have I had 2 conversations. One actually had to reschedule today, but another one that were all based around either the event or people that I met while I was down there.
Great.
So thank you again. Appreciate your work, and thanks for being with us today.
We'll see you next time. Let's do it again.
All right, friend, thank you so much for hanging out with me on this one. I love, talking about hustle culture and trying to buck against that trend. Really, really important. The power of rest, having a family and kids and having your own business and all of those things make it really, really hard. I've got a friend who's in the thick of it right now. My kids are a little bit older, and I'm like, man, I remember when my kids were younger, and I would try to, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to start working out at 6 a.m. Then my kids would start getting up at 6 a.m. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'll do 5:30 in the morning. Then they would start getting up at 5:30. It's like, I just couldn't win. Now they're a little bit older. I'm like, oh man, I've got like a morning routine, and this is great. So if you're in the thick of it, life, you'll get some of your life back later. In the meantime, you have to fight for it. And I'm rooting you on because it's tough. So let me know how this episode was for you. If you liked it, leave a comment below. You can email me and let me know your feedback. My email address is ryan@studiosherpas.com. Leave me a review. I'm gonna say this a couple more times next couple of episodes. Let's kick off the new year. Let's leave a review. Let's help this show get some traction and momentum back in the algorithm. As people leave reviews, the algorithm's like, oh, okay, maybe we should feed this to more people. So please do that. I would love it, and thank you in advance for that. If there's anything I can do to support you in the work that you're doing, hit me up, my friend. And that's it. That's all I've got for now. So thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye.